This is how to grow the heck out of aquarium plants, and most people get this wrong. We're about to set up an 8-foot by 8-foot grow bed. This is how we grow plants here in the greenhouse. This application can be directly tied to your aquariums in this method in the exact same way. This is the soil method. This is using nutrients at the roots that feeds their plants where they eat, feeds them what they eat. So it takes more time, energy, and effort to set up. I'm also standing in a black basin in a hot greenhouse on a hot day, okay? So what we do is we're going to take all of this. I have 5 buckets of what has been pre-sifted. All of the big chunks of soil have been removed, all the big chunks of mulch, and this is a pretty fine grade of dirt right here, spun down, Miracle-Gro Organic Choice or whatever the heck it is, spun down so it's all real fine, there's no big sticks. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna place this all along the bottom of here in about a 2-inch, 1.5 inch of depth to cover it. And then we're gonna cap it with 5 bags of paver sand mixed with a little bit of aragonite, and we'll talk about the aragonite in a minute, but here is the process. Throw it in here. And we're trying to cover it. There's one bucket. And then what you want to do is you want to get in here and you want to spread this all out so it's evenly dispersed. And the reason you sift it early is that will give you less stuff floating up, causing a mess when it bubbles up, because it'll let carbon dioxide gas kind of mix it. I'm actually going to mix this pre-mix. This is from our Dustin's Dirt Packs substrate mix, or aragonite with clay chunks in it throughout this mix here, just to get it all, get myself as dirty as possible early in the morning. So we got that mix out there. And I'm leaving that area without soil because that's where I'm gonna put the pumps and stuff. And what you wanna do is you wanna cover it up with the same amount of parts. So if you use 2 inches of soil, you use 2 inches of gravel on top, give or take, equal parts mix. I'm gonna be a little light here because I just don't have quite all of the supplies, but and you want to use the paver sand. I found works better to keep it down. You can use pool filter sand, works good. Do not use black diamond sand. Do not use place sand. Place sand gets too compacted. And the more you cover it up, the easier it's going to make your life when you go to fill it. I'm going to inevitably have chocolate milk here, but I've got a greenhouse. I can do easy water changes, so it is what it is. But in your aquarium, you're going to want to make sure you've got that soil covered really well, or it's going to float up on you. Frogs will notice. And then due to limited resources, we are going to thin this out, and then we're going to cover the whole thing in aragonite. And while I like the white light look of this with the soil substrate, it's going to come on top. So it's going to look rad at first, and then, you know, don't expect it to stay that way with soil pumping up through here and the mix, but right now it looks pretty nice. And so what I'm gonna do is, now is the tricky part, I'm gonna grab the hose and I'm gonna slowly just get a tiny bit of water in here. Now, you'll see I have an extra bag of aragonite here. This extra bag is for when inevitably something comes up through the substrate, but as I fill it, I'll see where the errors are. And this is actually the larger grade. Oh, is this, no, this is that's a little larger grade. Not ideal, but whatever. I'll use this as my patch. So I'm keeping this as standby. So you always want to have a spare bag of stuff around. If you're doing this at home in your aquarium, the part that I'm about to do is the part where most people get it wrong and mess it up. So what you want to do is you want to have 1 inch of soil and you want to have 1 inch of substrate or more on top. And you really, really, really want to make sure that cap is keeping everything down. And even if you fill it and drain it, it might get cloudy. And if you fill it and drain it repeatedly and it doesn't get clean, that means something is disrupted and there's soil coming up into your water column making a mess. You want to trap that down there. So if you do a drain and fill a few times and it's not getting cleaner, you have a leak in your cap somewhere. Somewhere the soil is getting up through the substrate. So having spare gravel around is key. Doing it right up front. In fact, as I talk about it, I'm looking over and I'm seeing spots like this where I can blatantly see the stuff coming up. So I got to cover all that up, because as soon as I add water to this. Now, when you add the water, you do not want to rush it. You want to fill it super, super slow. What I'm going to do is take an empty bag and put it in there. And as I slowly fill it, watch for stuff. But put the hose in the bag and that will keep the water from like disrupting the cap. And this is looking pretty solid. I'm gonna hop out of here and add some water. This is the part where you can mess it up. If I were to drop this in the substrate right now, see how the water is like spraying everything out in the way? It would make a huge mess. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna put it in here, and then set it in here, and let it slowly leak out of there. Now I didn't rinse the bag out, so it's gonna leave a little bit. See how it's just slowly falling out? That's about primo, and I'm actually gonna run this in the center here, so that, you gotta watch just how it can barely be running out of there. See how it's coming through the cap there? It's a little scary. If you can get like a couple holes in it, which is what I'm gonna do here, let it kind of come out the back. You could lay a plate down, you could lay a towel down. Now we're just gonna watch this. And all we wanna do is we wanna get enough to where it's just slightly covered, and then we'll plant, and then we'll fill up, and then we'll drain, and then we'll do it again. So we're gonna let this run just a tiny bit. See, the stuff is floating. So that's inevitable, it's gonna happen. But you wanna minimize that with as much of a cap on top as possible. You wanna be on camera, Whitney? Here you go, Whitney's on camera, look out. Thank you. But now we're looking for spots like this. See how it's dark coming through there? You wanna cover that up. And that was self-inflicted. And this is gonna look sick when it's planted because of all the light color. It's unfortunate I have to do a big water change on this because all this like white aragonite like colored magnesium, calcium, strontium is all gonna do our plants some good, even when it's in the water column that's like white and cloudy like that. That's a nice little example of how it comes up through right there. It's a primo example of what to look for. See how it's coming up through there? That's gonna go like crazy, so we gotta cover that up. What came through is coming up. Now you wanna like push around and look for like bubbles and stuff. So I'm gonna let this sit and fill up a little bit so I can start planting it. That's a decent cap. And I will throw a little bit of the chlorinator in here, not much, because I am gonna plant, and then I'm gonna fill, and then I'm gonna drain. All right, so this water level is perfect for planting, enough that you guys can still see what's going on. I can see what's going on. I can plant it with good dexterity, and then I can continue to fill. So I'm actually gonna turn the water off. All right, so I might disturb the cap just a bit by getting in here, but the stuff needs to be planted. These are VAL that are actually, this is a mix of leopard and Italian VAL, and we sell a ridiculous amount of VAL, so we wanna keep it in stock and the best. So got some great pieces and some little pieces. We leave all the substrate on there intentionally. That's on purpose. Leave that on there. Joe, the man behind the camera, or not the man behind the camera, the man off this camera, set this whole thing up over the weekend in the hot sun. He's the man. And then I'm gonna plant as best I can. I've actually got too much water in this spot right here, so I'm gonna go in the center. And honestly, these tweezers are too big and there's no dexterity, so we're going finger. Time to finger blast them. What my team does is they save me the smaller stuff. This is actually sage, but they save like the stuff that we can't put in a pot. So I've got a bunch of nice like little runner stuff. It's a decent start, but what's fun is when you run out of VAL, we have a bonus thing. This is gonna piss a few fish off. This is gonna be fun. Check this out. How dense that is. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to take the whole shebang out the center here, substrate and all, I think. Here it comes. Out the top. Oh, looky, looky. This is why we play the game. This is how the game is played. Get you one more handful. Boom. Now we plant these. Completely trashing the tank. The roots too. Look at the roots on these. Like, this is why we do it. And I can see that this is kind of drying out a little bit, and I don't want to dry out the stems I just threw in there. So I'm going to use one of these trusty little baskets, turn a little bit of water on, keep it flowing. And you want to plant heavy at first because that'll absorb all the excess nutrients. You also want to do a ridiculous amount of water changes because you don't want your aquarium to look like a chocolate shake or vanilla shake or whatever thick something you want to look at. And I can already tell that my top layer is a little too thin, so I'm gonna be adding more. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait for the water to go up a little bit and just kind of see. A couple things I'm gonna do in here is I'm gonna add a ridiculous amount of just like scrappy anacris and hornwort and maybe some just random bulbitis, because I want to make sure that there's going to be a bunch of excess nutrients in here, but I want to make sure I got a higher plant load so that plants will benefit from all the stuff floating in the water column. And I want to maximize that because I'm in full sun. I don't want to get algae on this.